What's up guys, Skippy Africanus here, and in today's video we're going to be going over the TAC-56 from Modern Warfare 2, or as it's known in real life, the SCAR-L. Now initially while making this video I was heavily debating adding in two other guns from this game. I won't spoil what those two other guns are, as I never spoil future videos, but I imagine most of you, even the non-gun savvy, can guess what those two other guns are. And I was debating this due to the fact that not only are they incredibly similar to one another, but they were made at the exact same time as this one in order to work hand in hand with this one. Also, one of them really is just this thing but bigger. The other one's this thing, bigger, semi-automatic only, and has some weird other features to it. But for the most part, they're just this gun but bigger. However, we will only be focusing on the TAC-56, or SCAR-L again, for this video, as those two other guns have a decent amount of info on them from the different paths they would end up taking. So while they will be mentioned occasionally, our focus in today's video is solely the TAC-56, or, again, SCAR-L. So anyways, what is the SCAR-L? Why does it exist? How does it work? And are there any users of this really cool looking rifle? Let's get into it. The SCAR-L is the 5.56 chambering of the SCAR platform, which was designed to be the more light infantry rifle from the SCAR family, hence the L. It was designed by FN, one of the rather high quality gun manufacturers I should add, at the request of SOCOM for their SCAR program. Now this program itself sought to get replacements for a variety of guns, namely the M4, M16, and M14, and had two main criteria that they wanted to be met. First off was modularity. They wanted the guns to be able to be modified to a variety of different setups depending on what the situation called for. Things like swapping barrels, mounting various attachments, essentially more than what their current weapons are capable of. It should be noted that this was really a big thing at the time, having more modular guns. It's why you got some really cool shit like this that had come out as opposed to nowadays where you get AR clone number 282971. I still love you, Shakespeare. One day Modern Warfare 2 will add you. Now, of course, the AR platform is very customizable, but at the time, while the more modular guns were being sought, they still took into consideration of going just to a whole other platform, and while the AR, as mentioned, is very customizable, it was not initially built with that intention in mind. So guns such as the SCAR, which were built from the ground up with that idea in mind, could incorporate more features, namely things like, as mentioned, an easier barrel swap, or not having a buffer tube to allow folding stock. The second criteria of the program was interchangeability between rifles. Now, obviously the M4 and M16 parts are pretty much there, but consider the M14, which is vastly different from those two. The SCAR-H, or 7.62 NATO variant from the SCAR platform, has 75% of the same parts as the SCAR-L, making for better logistics should both of the rifles be fielded. Now, the SCAR itself definitely has a distinctive look to it. This isn't your standard AR clone as mentioned before, or an AR clone at all for that matter, and as different as it looks from an AR, it also works a hell of a lot different from one too. As opposed to the standard AR's gas impingement system, the SCAR-L uses a short-stroke gas piston. What happens is when the bullet is fired, gas is vented upwards and pushes against this small piston right here. This piston pushes on the bolt carrier. As the bolt carrier moves rearward, the bolt head begins to rotate. Once it has achieved full rotation, meaning these lugs are not blocked by the lugs in the barrel, the entire bolt assembly is allowed to move rearward. Note that the small piston from earlier only goes a little ways then stops, unlike on, say, an AK, where it is physically part of the bolt and travels all the way with it. This is what makes it a short stroke as opposed to the long stroke gas system. Anyways, once the bolt has made full travel rearward, spring tension pushes it back forward. It picks up a cartridge, the bolt rotates back into battery via the bolt carrier moving forward, and the gun is ready to fire again. Now, one thing to note while talking about the mechanics of this gun is note where the recoil spring is placed, and also how it's placed. Unlike on a standard AR platform rifle, it is not housed in a buffer tube, meaning you are able to have a folding stock on this rifle, which of course is a very nice feature because it allows for easier, more compact storage. Folding stocks were another big thing with the whole modularity fad that was going on. So with all that discussed on what the SCAR-L actually is, how it works, and all that good stuff, it begs the question, is this gun actually used? And now initially what I was going to compare the SCAR to was a lot of guns that the US funnels a ton of money into towards development, research, then actually building them, testing them, and all that stuff, and then never does anything with them, cancels them, and we never hear from them again. Which is going to happen to the SIG Spear, by the way. But the SCAR-L actually has a more happy ending. While of course it didn't get it full-scale adoption, like, you know, completely replacing the M4, M16, and all that stuff, it would still end up being adopted by plenty of other countries on either small or fairly medium-scale sizes, so they were definitely making sales with the gun, and the gun was definitely seeing combat. And weird enough, though the SCAR-L was to be pulled from service, well, they still have them in very small numbers, but they actually bought a bunch of planned to buy a bunch of conversion kits for the SCAR-H platform to be able to chamber 5.56, which I guess isn't technically a SCAR-L, it's more like a big boy SCAR-L because the SCAR-H is a lot bigger, but you know, again, being chambered for 5.56, more as a trainer rifle kind of thing. It's not technically a SCAR-L, but yeah, even though these didn't get full-scale adoption, it's not like they became completely irrelevant. And in fact, on the American civilian market, well, the SCAR-L variant is fairly rare. To be honest, it was kind of weird. I really didn't know how rare they were until, well, people started mentioning, hey, the SCAR-L variant's rare. And then I noticed, yeah, you do tend to see a lot more guns based off these SCAR-H's and SCAR-SSRs. Though that being said, owners of SCAR-Ls, as well as the other SCAR rifles, they're always very pleased with the quality of these guns, which is no surprise. They're made by FN, as mentioned at the beginning of this video, one of the higher quality gun manufacturers. And it should be noted that this same mindset is, of course, shared by militaries. Of course, they'll have the full auto version and all that stuff. The SCAR-L is, in general, very well received. Of course, it was not proven to be better than guns it wanted to replace, like the M4, M16, and all that. But by no means a terrible gun, actually a great gun. It just didn't turn out to be great enough to be able to replace its competitors. So anyways, I think that is gonna do it for this short little video on the TAC-56 from Modern Warfare 2. Or, as it's much more commonly known in real life, the SCAR-L. I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I personally enjoyed making it. I'll admit, I used to not be the biggest of SCAR-L fans. I was more the SCAR-H kind of guy, and if I was going to get a 5.56 that looked like this, I'd rather go with the CZ Bren. But much like a few other guns recently, as I started looking into it, I was like, okay, that gun does look pretty cool, especially with the Desert Tan, with those tan magazines. I actually started to think, I'm like, alright, that actually does look pretty cool. But anyways, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next Guns of Modern Warfare 2 in real life video. As I keep mentioning, we are doing every single gun from this game.